Perfect. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. This is great to be here on Saturday morning, and today's topic is the ant and the elephant. I love this one because this one is probably the most uh, thing that drives everyone, and whether you realize it or not, it really does work. And we day to day we live by our conscious mind or the ant, and we think we do everything on by our conscious mind, and we whether it's just going to work or driving down the road or whatever, but there's so much that drives us from our subconscious mind. And with the elephant, and I've got a bunch of examples in my life that it really happens a lot. In fact, the wall you see behind me is an example of one of them. A long time ago, uh, this is like 30 years ago, I wanted to make the Army shooting team, and I figured out what I could possibly work to do, and so I came up with this score. If I did the very best in every single thing, I came up with this score that was almost unrealistic to me. Um, but I wrote it out on a big sheet of paper. In fact, I wrote it out and put it up all over my apartment back then, and I put it in my bathroom, I put it on the walls, put it on the refrigerator, put it on everything. All I saw was this number for probably 6 months, and of course I also had to do the work, and I was training constantly, and it was and when I finally went out to the tryouts 6 months later, I was really nowhere near that ready. But by the time it finally happened, I actually made it and it exceeded it. And I was shocked. It was like, wow, it really did, it actually worked. And, uh, and so that's one of the things that I've kind of used the rest of my life on that, is that I use pictures. They tell you go out and find pictures of what you really like and what you want to dream about, things like that, because it's amazing what things will do to drive you. And that's one of the reasons why, words versus actual pictures, what your mind can picture, is just so powerful. I know that you know one of the things that we did a few years ago. We were trying to earn this trip to Hawaii, and it was actually part of a company contest and everything else, and we decided that we wanted to make this trip, and I knew that there was this one way I wanted to make it, and so I worked and worked and worked and worked, and about a month before the trip, I'm like, God, we're just not going to make it. There's just no way. It's like we're not going to have what it's going to take to make it. And we had pictures of the resort area that we were going to go to all over the house. I mean, and I just couldn't believe that. It's not that I couldn't afford to go to Hawaii. It was I wanted to be able to earn this trip. And 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 finally, about a month before, I realized that there was actually an option of how to get this trip, and it was a secondary way of making it. I went and looked, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm right. I'm like right there. I can make it, no problem." In fact, not only that, the team that I was working with, I saw that five of them can also make it too by calculating, out what they can possibly do. So I called every single one of them and said, "Hey, this is you can earn this trip here. We're going on this trip now. Who's going to join us?" And we had a couple other couples join us with that, just because all of a sudden we realized that it can happen. And so it's amazing what your subconscious mind will do in the background if you don't realize it. If as long as you make yourself picture this thing and not just let your conscious mind. Our conscious mind is what makes us, okay, I'm going to set this goal and I'm going to go do this and work and do the daily tasks it takes to do it. But it's the subconscious mind that actually drives you, and this is what gets you out the door. And one other example we love to use too is that we were going to go to Ireland. My son went to the Naval Academy, and his senior year, well, during his junior year, it was announced that Notre Dame was going to play football against the Naval Academy in Dublin, Ireland. And we wanted to go, and we said we're going to go to this trip. And so we put pictures of the stadium all over the house, and we just said, okay, we're going to get this. We're going to go to this trip. And about 6 months before, we started realizing, wow, the airfares have really gone up this year. Like, wow, we'd been to Ireland before, and it's almost double in price. I'm like, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to go this time. And I had already set up the hotel reservations with hotel points a year in advance. And so I know our hotel was going to be okay. And then about 3 months out, the hotel calls and says, yeah, I'm sorry, but we sold the hotel, and we will still honor it somehow, but we're not going to be able to make it. And I said, oh no. And I had a certain amount of status with this hotel, will give us free breakfast and all this other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I really like that idea. And they said, no problem. You pick one of these 3 hotels and we'll pay for it. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now it's sounding better. I said, but still the airfare was still really high. It's like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to make it or not. And we never bought the football tickets or anything like that. About 3 weeks before the trip, we were at this gathering, and somebody asked me, I said, hey, you going on the Dublin Liner trip? I said, yeah, we were planning to, but airfares are so expensive. I don't know if we're going to make it or not this year. And they said that, well, you know what? We've got extra tickets. One of the couples backed out. Would you like them? I'm like, wow. Okay. Well, things are starting to line up. I got a free hotel now. That'd be totally free. Free football tickets now, basically. And now it's the airfare. And I'm still, I don't know, just a week out, the prices weren't coming down. If anything, it was getting worse. And it's just going to be incredible how this is just not, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. And literally 3 days before, 1 week before, I ended up calling, I just got this idea in my head, and just, hey, I got a friend of mine who's an airline pilot, and he has buddy passes. Let me give him a call. And so, and I wasn't really keen on the idea because I've ridden these standby flights before. And so I said, well, I'll just call him up and see what happens. And so I called him up, and he goes, yeah, you know what it's like. I said, yeah, I do. He goes, well, I'm willing to do it, but don't expect me to, work with you that much. And I said, that's fine. I know the deal. I know, it's standby, and it's going to be, it's tougher, but we'll give it a go. And my wife, Maureen, was like, yes, absolutely. We're going to go. So the game was on Saturday, and we decided Sunday that we're going to leave for this trip. And Monday morning we took off. And so we flew to Atlanta. We got to Atlanta, and we got stuck overnight. No problem. We still got plenty of time to get there. Things were looking like it maybe, yeah, we think so. We had tons of friends in Atlanta, and they insisted on letting us stay with them. And so we took off, and the next day we're sat at the airport for, like six hours or something like that. And like, I don't know if we're going to make it or not. And one of our friends said, hey, have you tried going to Manchester instead? I'm like, yeah, that sounds, yeah, I think we can do that. And sure enough, we ran to the gate, got on the plane, and we made it. And it's just, everything just like fell together at the last moment. All 3 of these examples were just falling together at things that you think of ideas in the back of your mind that you don't realize, that it's possible if you just can picture it. And that's why I like to, one of the things that not only for you, but and then it's really what the Ant and the Elephant's about, all about you, and how you think, and what dreams can do for you to make things happen and get motivated out the door. But don't forget about your prospects too, because that is the most important of why. If you can get them to picture what they want versus what, just saying, oh yeah, just more money in itself is not going to make it. It's what they makes them picture. So anyway, with that, I'd like to find out, what everybody else thinks on this, and see what is your elephant and tell us what motivates you, because that's what is the most important. And give examples if you can. Yes, Angie. I see Angie there. Josh, you're running it. Does Angie need to unmute or you? Okay, there we go. Oh, there you go.
All right, perfect. Good morning. The Ant and the Elephant is probably one of the first stories that truly made everything connect for me. It's something that I read quite a bit. I was excited to listen to the video multiple times this week. And it's kind of what made the business gel. And listening to the full video, not just listening to the story or the theory behind it, it's the story that I always have playing in my head. You know, is your elephant charging? And where is that stinking ant? And 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 it was actually the story that helped me talk to my kids about why it's so important what we feed our brains, and talk about, you know, we always talk about what's important for our bodies. And when anybody asks me, you know, life just seems to be going really well for you, and I usually just say, you know what, my elephant is in control, and they give me that crazy look. And there was in the audio, and I thank Josh, and I thank and Lisa, also, everybody always brings to mind. It said, you just have to dare to follow. And when the elephant gets aligned with your ant and you start charging through the jungle and start to bust down trees, a whole bunch of others who are still too fearful to unleash their elephant on the world will at least have their ant smart enough to jump on the back of their elephant until they have success. And I think about Lisa a lot, because Lisa seems to have the sixth sense of when she needs to touch base with me. And to think about those top leaders who, at first I just kind of sat back, and when I got to have my first one-on-one with them, I had just joined the company, and I don't think I understood how big that elephant was when I sat down with both of them and just had this personal one-on-one and connected with them just on a personal level. And then as I've gone through the business, I kind of, stepped back a little bit with my job. It's been really busy. Josh has always got his elephant at my door and on the phone and in my email box. And it took me a while to realize that I could just jump on their elephant. I could throw my ant on there, because my ant is kind of obstinate and doesn't always do what I think it needs to do. And until that ant was aligned with my own elephant, I needed to align it with one of theirs, because, they kind of had their crap together. And so having multiple elephants to lead that way, to allow me to let my elephant catch up, I think. And I already feel my elephant aligning with my ant. And yesterday we went, my daughter and I earned I earned a trip. Yeah. My daughter earned a trip to go get a new swimming suit, and she got to pick where she got to go. And she's never been to Justice. Yes, she's 10 and she's never been to Justice. And she was so excited. And so when we jumped in the car, right away she said, well, can I sit in the front seat? And I said, you know what, today you can. And she's like, well, let's turn the radio on. I said, well, actually, I have a CD I want to listen to. And she goes, well, do I have to listen to it? And I said, no, you don't. You don't have to listen to it at all. You can just watch the trees, and because she's still 10 weeks device free. And I said, but if you want to listen to it, go for it. And so, it was one of the Edge CDs, and it was motivation. And right away, I could just tell her 10-year-old aunt kind of rolled her eyes a little bit. But Swanson was talking about training for the Ironman, and I could hear her kind of gasp a couple times on just different things that, I can't believe he still did that. And when he said that he went for the second Ironman, she goes, why would anybody do more than one? And so she was listening. And we kept going. And it talked about professional athletes. And she started talking to me during it. And of course, it was kind of annoying, because I was really listening to the CD. And so it was hard to listen to the CD and listen to her. But I was like, oh my gosh, she's she's actually bringing her aunt on board with my elephant. And so we engaged in a conversation. And at the end of it, it talks about having a big fat vision. And she just thought that was the funniest thing ever. And so yesterday she was all BFB. And I said, so what was that BFB? What did that stand for? And she goes, well, I thought you were listening. And I said, well, I was. And I said, well, maybe I'm checking to see if you were. And she goes, well, yeah, your BFB leads to your BFV. And that's your big fat vision leads to your big fat victory. And I said, that is so awesome. And she goes, well, yeah, just like you're always telling me that we have to have a vision and we have to be thinking about that vision all the time. And if we stop thinking about that vision, we're not going to get that victory. And so I kind of feel like, my elephant is finally kind of coming in line with my aunt's. Not that I'm ready to jump off Lisa's or Josh at all, or anyone here. And I think about right now, all of our aunts are together. We have this herd of elephants, and it's just, let's go for it. Let's let ourselves go, and they're aligned, and let's charge away. So I love the story. I love the theory behind it. Even in my age, I can connect to it, and even a 10-year-old gets it. They get it when you really truly put it in different terms, and no matter what we do, we can always connect it back to the ant and the elephant.
Cool. That's awesome. Great story. Love that. And I love the way that you introduced it to your daughter. Who else would like to share? Right, John?
So good morning. Jay, this is an awesome topic, and Angie, spot on when you're talking about the vision. Laura and I last week, we missed the call because we were really focusing on our vision and where we wanted and what our why was, and unfortunately we had to do it from Costa Rica. It was a fantastic and we as much as our elephant we think is in line, once in a while the thing takes a break, and we gotta like kickstart it, and I'm finding that the ants are a little more powerful than we imagine sometimes, and they take over our lives, and they take over our busyness, and we get unfocused, if you will, and that's something that we as a couple have been struggling. And I know that a couple of folks on my team that we've talked about is all of a sudden, our body's covered with our ants because things are all over the place, and what seems to be important really doesn't get you where we want to go. And so having to realign the ants, and getting our elephants back on its feet and moving really is really important, and revisiting our vision, revisiting our why, and figuring, adjusting that so that, we develop that hunger again, and that fire to get us where we want to go has been really our focus over the last 2 weeks now. And so I love the fact that, this topic came up because between the books and the CDs that we've been reading, and then I just happened to be reading a book from Brian Tracy called Eat Your Frog, which helps me align with, my ant and the elephant, putting my priorities together and focusing on what's important, and not focusing so much on the ant stuff. And part of that also, as I've been explaining to some of the folks on our team, is, the topic of being on TA is so important, because that's part of the association and aligning your elephant up. I believe that being with the association.
Just everyone.
Huh?
Yeah.
Did I freeze up?
I don't know if everybody else is.
So it's just important that, we're focused on what this is. I think that the core people that are on this call, really want to develop a business and develop themselves. And part of that alignment is, doing the association and getting your ants lined up, getting your elephant in front of it, and then just focusing that charge. So I really appreciate the topic, and I'm glad to see everybody this week.
That's awesome. Thank you, John. Yeah, it is so important to get that elephant and ant lined up. I agree. Who else would like to share? All right, Josh.
Unmute myself here. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think it's part of my biology background, I think, but I really enjoy the when they're talking about the amount of neurons it takes to have your ant brain thinking and also have your elephant brain thinking. And it's so important to understand that our ant brain, like, it uses words and just in context and things like that, basically to make decisions and to think. But the reason that the thing that really drives us, though, is images, and that's what our subconscious eats up. That's what our elephant eats up. So that's why it's important not to write down your goals. It's important to have pictures up. It's important to, that's why, like Jay was talking about, putting things all over the house when he was working on his shooting career, just constant reminders, constantly feeding the elephant pictures, feeding it in pictures rather than in words. I know, and Orrin talks about a lot in this one about beer ads and soda commercials. And with the beer ads, it's just, if you pop the top, then gorgeous babes are just going to grow out of the ground. I don't know where they come from. They just show up. But that's a pretty funny part. But I want to kind of show you, I guess. I'll pick my laptop up here and show you some of the elephant things that I have working in this office. Let me turn the light on here. But a couple ways. Okay, so this office slash playroom, I guess. I mean, basically the kids are in here as much as I am. But when you come in, you can definitely see coming over here. Here's actually a vision board that I made with Dr. Dina, talking about developing a leader's mind and embracing your sanguine and being unstoppable. Obviously have the flag up there, and move over here. I've got Every Day You Choose, along with my ticket to the next convention and some Tesla stuff, some cards that Jay sent me, a vision board, as well as some of my favorite leadership quotes. I won't stick on here too long. If you want to take a look at them in more depth, you can pause it later. I don't want to take up too much time, but you'll see that when it comes all the way from my kids stuff, like cards they've made me, to the Rascal poster, to, and then actually if I come over here and I look at one of my boards, you can see that I have World Series events over there. Which date am I going to go play in the World Series this year? So basically things that I constantly surround myself with that are part of my long-term vision that I feed myself in images all the time. So just wanted to do a quick tour to let you know that the elephant that is running here, it's constantly running because I'm feeding it elephant food.
Great example. Exactly. And I don't know if I could switch cameras on this one. I'm using my iPad. I don't know. I guess I'll have to just swap it around and hope that I can make it. But there is this one that I can see it anyway. One poster that I use that says "Lost Sales Manager, Captain of His Destiny," and that is what I use. You'll see also the helicopter flight panel. I'm taking helicopter lessons. It's been kind of one of my long-term bucket list things that has come to fruition lately. So, yeah, Josh, that's a great example. Everyone needs to find out what their dream is and go find out. Anybody else would like to share? Okay, yeah, Ina.
Good morning, everyone. What great ideas and what great stories about how you've implemented winning. I've had several experiences in my life where I had to beat something that seemed impossible. And one of my most challenging was that I was pregnant with twins. And the doctor put me on bed rest about maybe 5-6 weeks in, once they found out, well, actually it was a little further along, found out I was pregnant with twins, and said, you know what, you're going to have these early and stuff. And so I said, nope, not gonna. And so I just did a lot of visualization. I spent every day focusing on how they were going to be born. Long story short, I was actually 9 days overdue. My first baby was 8'8". My second one was 6'14". And they were both born completely healthy. I got to bring them home. And the gal in the hospital next to me, who was my roommate, she goes, "Oh my God, I saw you yesterday and your one little one is bigger than the only one I've had." And so, that was 9 months of really training. I had to work hard. I used Bible scriptures. I used my visualization. I used constant talking to myself when I'd freak out. And so the next day, the doctor came up to me and he goes, "I just wanted to meet you because that just doesn't happen." And I said, "Well, this is my plan." I told him all the stuff I'd done. And he said, "Well, if there were 100 doctors in the room and one of them said that you had a baby that turned around in the middle of the birth and came out head first when they were breech," I would have said, "That isn't true." 99 would say that's ridiculous. And I just knew you must have been somebody special. And then I told him how I'd used my focus to stay on what I wanted. And of course, you don't know. But at the very end, I knew that I knew that I knew. And really and truly, what this gets down to is when you connect the ant and the elephant into one, and the visualization becomes so real because you've applied faith, it becomes it. And like he was talking about, Orrin was talking about how his his theater, his 20-person theater that he focused on every single day at work, and then he's selling a house that's got it in it. He pulled it off. And that's the difference between people who make it work and people who don't, is that training of the brain and staying focused on what you want until it becomes so real. You don't remember if it's real or whether you made it up, and then it becomes real. So anyway, that's one of my stories from a long time ago, of course. My kids are in their 30s, but that has always stuck with me because I realized how powerful that was then.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else? Okay, I see it. Lisa?
They'll unmute it for you. You can start talking.
All right.
Good.
Good morning. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I just wanted to share my experience recently with the ant and the elephant, because I was actually listening to the audio several times before we even knew that this was going to be the Zoom call this week. And so I picked up summer softball just to get active again and just to meet more people. And I hadn't played in 8 or so years, so I was really nervous and stuff. And so I joined a team. I know no one on the team, absolutely no one. And so I was nervous for that too. But then we've played 3 games now, and the first 2 games we lost, and I just recognized that everyone had such a negative attitude and such a I'll hit it, or I'll lose, or oh yeah, I suck, and stuff like that. So then before the 3rd game, I after we said a prayer, I said, "Hey, I want to share something." And I shared how the visualization between the 3 groups of people practicing free throw shooting for basketball, and how the same group that practiced daily and the same group that visualized had the same results. And so I shared that with them, and I shared that, the neurons, the difference between the two, and we won. So I totally think that, everybody got on board with the idea of, just visualizing a better outcome and visualizing a better game. And sure enough, we won. So I totally agree that it's true. And, just keep your eye on the focus on the long-term vision. And I think it works. I'm a believer. So that's
Absolutely.
that's it.
No, that's awesome. That's exactly what we've done so many times. I've been on so many winning teams, and the individual is the same way. It's amazing what you if you believe it, things can happen. Just it's almost like, wow, just total turnarounds. Who else would like to share? Do you see anybody, Josh? Oh, there we go, Colin. We can't. We're gonna have to get Colin. Can you unmute Colin?
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey there. Yeah, it's interesting because this whole philosophy and elephant can work in so many different ways. On obviously not just this business, but and even for softball, that was an incredible story, Liz. And just her outgoingness and how this has helped her getting over. She told me once long ago that she was shy and didn't like to talk in front of people. I haven't seen that part of it yet, but I think that this whole business and this information has helped that fear, just that wall of fear, be completely destroyed by her. But this whole philosophy can be applied. Also, I work with a lot of addicts and kind of mentoring and helping people overcome alcoholism and addiction. And it's that same thing. I mean, it's just a matter of changing the thinking. Like everyone, even in a lot of times in Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous meetings, they tell you, I mean, you have to kind of say, my name's so-and-so, I'm an addict. And like, I refuse to go to those meetings because I'm not. I'm recovered. And by his stripes we are healed. And that's the philosophy I have. And I will not say I'm an addict to kind of conform to a philosophy. So I just kind of remind them, I'm like, okay, if you have to say that in that class, if you have to tell yourself you're an addict, tell yourself you're recovered 10 more times. Okay. And, but what it is sometimes a struggle of whatever it is. I mean, whether it's depression or finances even, or addiction, sometimes a struggle is so strong that you can't even think to see the end result. They don't know a lot of times that there is a positive end result because all they can focus on is the past, which generally is what led to the addiction, or the present state of addiction. And a lot of times people don't even know there's hope out there. So how can they visualize the end result of a recovered, successful person? So that's, I'm applying these principles to that whole thing, which my faith is what got me delivered. Like I didn't really have to struggle with deliverance. It happened kind of in a weird way, but I did have to kind of focus on staying delivered, staying clean, for now it's just not an issue. But so yeah, I mean, I just try to help people, begin with the end in mind sort of philosophy, and just constantly, if you've got to tell yourself negative, or if you catch yourself saying negative to yourself, then tell yourself the positive 10 more times, or whatever, but always just kind of focus the visualization. Like Jay's got the vision board, Josh got the vision board, I got vision boards all over, but we have to kind of picture it and become it before we become it, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is a very powerful topic. This is probably one of my favorite calls. And then the last week I couldn't hear much, but I think the call before that was also my other favorite call. So these are just knocking them down. The whole Ant and the Elephant thing. It's funny because I got a couple I'm working with that are on the call here too. And for years, Paul's been saying, they should really focus on the ant and the elephant. They should really focus on the ant and the elephant. Why don't they focus on the ant and the elephant? Like, because without that, nothing's going to happen. And like every time I talk to them, they got to focus on the ant and the elephant. And at the last major, they focused on the ant and the elephant. So like he brought the visualization of what they should focus on into fruition. So he I think I want to credit Paul for the whole ant and the elephant theory of what life leadership's doing, because he was one way or another, consciously or unconsciously, fixated on how this as an organization needs to focus on the ant and the elephant. So anyway, great job with the call, everyone, and that's all I got.
All right, thank you very much, Colin. We are. I want to respect everyone's time. We've been probably about 35 minutes or so, and so what an awesome topic it's been. I know everyone's gotten a lot out of it. The big thing for you is if you don't truly have an elephant that drives you, go out and find something, and don't just write it down, but do all three. Write it down, go get pictures, and if it's whether it's a car or a house or something like that, if you can go test drive it or go house dreaming or whatever, you want to be able to not just picture it but actually visualize it. And that's the key. Your elephant will drive your subconscious and just reform your ant to saying, hey, this is what I want to do. All right. Thank you very much. And Josh, any last words?
I think that, well, thank you, Jay, first of all. Yeah, I don't really have any last words here. It's just I think this call turned out fantastic, and I just wanted to say, I guess, in closing that definitely appreciate all of you and your efforts in plugging into the information, and definitely appreciate you sharing too, because it gives us all a little more perspective into the way each other thinks. And one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about this call is that we all get to know each other a little better too. So that's all I got.
All right. Thank you. All right. Have a great week, everybody. And do we have a topic for next week already?
Yes, we do have a topic for next week. That's one good thing. Thank you for asking. Basically, this next week we're going to do one of Chris Brady's. He says that he thought about doing this over again at a few different points, but he did it so well the first time that he just never redid it because he loves the first one, and that's the checkpoint race. So next time we'll be walking through the checkpoint race a little bit. I'll facilitate that one, and the following week, John will be choosing something that he prefers to speak about or something that affected him. And so we will make sure that people get that info. And if you have any questions, you can always contact your upline or anyone on the call. And that's kind of the schedule. Thanks for asking, Jake.
All right. Thank you, Josh. All right. Have a great week, everyone.
Were you trying to raise your hand? Because they were already on their last words thing.